And
Yeah.
so that helped a little bit. But the weird thing about this, Jose, is that I definitely didn't think before this game that I'd have as many notes as I did about Kamavinga.
Yeah.
And it just so turns out that his debut and his left back performance happened to be one of the most eventful things. Like, it was just nonstop. I'm thinking, like, am I going crazy? Maybe it's because my selective focus is just focusing on him because it's such a weird anomaly to have him at left back that, like, maybe I'm just a psychopath with a bunch of notes. Then I looked at the numbers. He had the most touches of anyone on the field. He had 11 tackles. He had 6 clearances. He had 3 interceptions. And you're like, wow, yeah, no, it was an eventful game for him. So it's like you're just trying to piece it together. And long story short, and we'll break it down in more detail, but at the very least, even though it looked super uncomfortable, it was not his game. Like, he's doing overloads in the second half for Mbappe. What is he going to do with an overload? He just gets the ball and then passes it back, right? He's not going to take a player on and put a cross in. It
Yeah.
just wasn't his game, but he worked hard. He
Yeah.
worked hard, and you got to give him that. You got to respect it. He could have hung his head and be like, "Oh, woe is me," I'm playing left back. It's not my position, but he put a shift in at least.
Yeah, and of course, it just didn't work out to his strengths, but he did what he could. And I think it's interesting because, like you mentioned, there was a lot of faction happening on that side, and maybe there's a bit of it, like it could have been like Tunisia looking at, okay, this guy's not really a left back. Let's try attacking on this side. But I also think that another factor is that France was building up a lot on the left because in the end, and Real Madrid fans know this. When you have Varane on the other side do it in build-up phase, you're usually going to build up more on the side that's not Varane. It's usually how it is. Konate is the one who took more of the initiative going forward with the ball. So with Konate there and Kamavinga there, France was building up more naturally on the left side and trying to get the ball out of there. Sometimes, of course, Tunisia pressed, made it more difficult. A lot of the time, Tchouameni found clarity in those build-up phases and finding the line-breaking pass. But then after the line-breaking pass, France just didn't find, there wasn't because I think there were many situations with that triangle of Tchouameni, Kamavinga, Konate, where France could actually get out of the first line of pressing. But after that, those first passes, the next line it just never happened because they didn't have that connecting player like Griezmann before, like Griezmann, in the next phase of possession. So in the end, these guys could a lot of the time could get the ball out, but then afterwards, what do you do? There was no one linking up the forwards. So you end up with a lot of individual efforts. Like Coman tries to dribble past someone, tries to make a run. Kolumani tries to dribble past 3 guys and tries to get a shot, but there wasn't really a coordinated thing going on in the attack, which was and that's what was keeping on, what kept on happening with France. So the ball went passed in the first phase of possession, but then it's the connection to the forwards and them attacking in a coordinated way that just never happened.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the game state also changed, right? Dramatically when after Tunisia scored their goal, France started making their subs. You can kind of see Kamavinga just gradually goes up higher up the pitch too. And France bring their line higher. So the game state completely changes. And I think it's interesting because you see the different phases of the game as well. And Kamavinga's phase is also shifting with it. And we can start from the beginning. It's like Tunisia rightfully tests that flank. They're going at him. He looks a little bit lost position, looks a little bit confused, understandably so. He gets beat a couple times. I forget who it was who nutmegged him. Do you remember that in the first half?
Yes, and no, it was not Castri. It was I don't remember who it was, but
and then he gets nutmegged. He works hard to try to stay with him on the flag. He gets nutmegged, but then he recovers well with one of his famous Cobra slide tackles. Unfairly gets called for a foul, even though it was pretty clean. Maybe the ref just didn't know Kamavinga can come away with those so cleanly so many times. But either way, he gets called for a foul. And then you start to see, okay, is he getting a little bit more comfortable? Then there are things that are clearly just not going to work. Like he goes up in Tunisia's half. He tries to play 1-2 with Guendouzi. and get the ball back. But the Guendouzi pass to him back is terrible. He's not getting it. That's not really his game. Then he has a couple good reads, couple good interception. Then there was that stretch when Tunisia were crossing, and then there were corners and set pieces and crosses, and he had about 4 vital clearances in the span of 2 minutes or so. And he's starting to grow into it. And that's what I mean, like when he's at least working hard. He's first to the ball on several crosses, flying headers, getting some clearances. But then it was just weird. It was just like clearly not his comfort zone. It's clearly not his game, but he's working hard. And then
but a lot of things happened. Yeah,
a lot of things are happening. And then in the second half, I think what was interesting, and actually going back to the first half, Jose, I don't know if you had any thoughts on this, but one of the things that did make sense was that there were times where he acted as an inverted left back, and he goes up centrally, tries to provide an outlet between the lines for Veretout. And that kind of made sense, obviously. And I think maybe it was you that noted on Twitter too that he won the ball centrally a couple times.
I don't think it was me, but yes, I think the most promising moments from Kamavinga were, of course, when he moved away from the left and more into central areas. So you could see the threat was coming there. You could see there was one that, for example, he goes into the central areas, more almost into zone 14, lets out a good pass into space. I don't remember if it was for Guendouzi or Veretout. They didn't reach it, but that's when it was looking more dangerous. But of course, the thing is that it's not the same trying to combine with Guendouzi and Veretout on the left that say Griezmann and Mbappe there. So of course, it just not the same precision. He was trying to go for those 1-2s, but he didn't have the right player there to combine. I think both here, Guendouzi was another player who was pretty lost there, because I mean he's more of a central midfielder, and Deschamps put him in as a he was supposed to be a left winger, but a lot of the time he came central, and it's and a lot of the time that meant that France was not playing with an actual left winger. And there were other times where Veretout actually goes as almost he goes into the left back position and lets Kamavinga go forward or go a bit more central. So the one thing that Veretout has is that, yes, he's smart about those things, and he is the kind of player who likes to compensate those kinds of movements from teammates. So he did allow sometimes Kamavinga to do his moves into more central areas, which was nice. So those were some nice interactions there, but overall, just so many things happening. Then with Kamavinga, the main weakness from him defensively is just, especially in open play situations, because in set pieces, he actually did okay, but in open play, he has so many of these situations where he's just doing too much ball watching and not enough keeping track of his markers. So in set pieces, it was okay, but in some open play cross situations, you could see that he was just doing too much ball watching and not looking at the guy that was behind him that he was supposed to mark. So those kinds of those, and then also other times where he was supposed he should be tracking the run in behind, but he's still looking at the ball instead of the guy running in behind. So those were the situations where I think he struggled the most defensively, and where it was clear that he's just not comfortable there. But yeah, the moments where he went into central areas were the most fun. It's just again, France was not set up to connect in that forward line. So
yeah, he's generally a good aerial presence on set pieces and has been for Real Madrid. I don't think that'll change regardless of what position he plays in. And I think he's in the top percentile of aerials won in his position in world football. I haven't checked in a while. I checked in the summertime, but then there was one cross coming over from Tunisia's left side, and Kamavinga's with the far post, and you could see there was a little bit of confusion between him and Konate of who takes the man. Just moments like that, it's I think he has to get used to where, Ferland Mendy, for example, just reads that a lot better, for example. What about, I know, I honestly, to be really honest, I didn't focus that much on Tchouameni. I hope that you can analyze him more than I did, but I'm curious what you thought of his performance.
I really